Hey there, welcome back to another GR8 podcast episode. I'm kind of, firing on all cylinders here. I took a week break and then came back with an hour-long abortion episode. But today I want to bring it back, tie it back to less serious things, and talk about the NBA draft. I'm a Houston Rockets fan, so I have a large stake in this draft because we got the third overall pick with Jabari Smith, and I just want to talk about what that means for Rockets fans, the NBA as a whole, and then what the other draft prospects and picks mean. Honestly, let's just get right into it. First of all, we got number one overall Paolo Banchero out of Duke going to the Magic. Now, Paolo Banchero is a forward. He was a massive prospect for the Houston Rockets because he was working out with them a whole bunch coming up before the draft, and everybody thought that the Rockets were going to pick not Jabari Smith, Paolo Banchero, because they all thought Jabari Smith was going to go first to the Magic, and then Chet Holmgren was pretty much a lock for the Thunder at second, and then the Rockets were going to take Paolo Banchero. Paolo Banchero in his draft, what's the word? Value spiked, especially like the day right before. People were saying he's going to go third, and then like maybe two, and then definitely he was the number one draft prospect to go number one to the Orlando Magic like the day before the draft. So his draft value spiked a day before, and I don't know why that is. I have no idea. Maybe he worked out with a couple more teams. Maybe he got in touch with other teams, but that's how it worked. And Paolo Banchero, 6'10", 250 pounds, and he's a forward. He's not even a center. He's a forward. Crazy build. He's an elite rim protector. Very well down in the post. He can shoot the ball very well. So you can see why the Rockets were really eyeing him, and I think they worked out had a workout with Jabari Smith, but the Rockets were focused on Paolo Banchero. But Rafael Stone, the general manager for the Rockets, obviously saw his draft value spike a couple days before the draft, and they got ready. And if Paolo Banchero is available, then we'll obviously take him. But if Jabari Smith, which obviously panned out to happen, is on the table at the third overall pick, then they'll take him. And that's the interesting thing around the NBA draft. I think the Magic, was the worst team, but Rockets were like second worst team. They had, I think, through the middle of the season, they had the worst record in the NBA, and then they got third overall. So it's interesting to see. The NBA draft almost makes no sense because it's an NBA draft lottery, and you have a certain percentage availability to get the number one overall pick, and obviously the Magic got it. With the Rockets, they needed a forward, and they also needed availability. But what I will say is that the first three picks in the NBA draft were all forwards or centers. So that's what the Rockets needed. They have a whole bunch of guards. They have a whole lot of small forwards and people that can push and move the ball and ball handlers. But they needed someone down in the middle to complement Alperen Sengun. So it was interesting to watch the Rockets be able to pick almost anybody that they wanted that was available at number 3. And that's the interesting thing about being the third overall, having the third overall slot, is you get the two best picks picked before you, and then now you're like, okay, who's like the third overall guy? You're only hoping and crossing your fingers that you get the guy that you wanted. And then the Magic took Paolo Banchero, and you see, if you're on Twitter at all, and NBA Twitter and draft Twitter, you saw pictures of the first 3-4 picks: Paolo Banchero, Chet Holmgren, Jabari Smith, and Keegan Murray, and I think Jaden Ivey was in a couple pictures. Paolo Banchero was the only one not smiling. Everybody else was smiling, like can't wait to earn a whole bunch of money and play for the NBA in their dreams. But Paolo Banchero looked like he was mad. I don't know why. I don't know if he worked out for the Magic. I don't know if he talked to the Magic a whole lot, but it was very interesting to see the Magic pick him, Paolo Banchero. Obviously, the Magic need him. The Magic should take anybody that they could, and obviously, with the number 1 overall pick, they had everybody. And I'm just surprised because they picked Paolo Banchero when there's not, they could have picked Jabari Smith, and he would have worked out fine for the Magic. But they instead chose the forward out of Duke. The Thunder then drafted Chet Holmgren, and I'm not a big believer in Chet Holmgren. I'm not gonna lie here. Through the NCAA tournament, I was not impressed with him. Sure, he's almost like 7 foot. He's a very good ball handler. He can beat people off the dribble, and he's a long, skinny, lengthy. But that's the thing. His weight, he seems like a very, very skinny guy. He's 195 pounds. I weigh more than Chet Holmgren. So he's a center. So he's going to be going up against like tougher, bigger matchups, like size wise, maybe not height wise. So it's going to be. I mean, he's a great rim protector. He can steal balls when people are going up for a dunk or a nice layup against Chet Holmgren. But he's through AAU and multiple years at college, that's what coaches and teams do, is attack Chet Holmgren down in the post because they know about his size and his weight, and that his lengthy arms is as far as, they think that his lengthy arms as far as his defense goes, but in reality that he has enough skill and enough ability to, swipe the ball out of people's hands or not foul and still create contact. So Chet Holmgren, obviously, I'm not sold on his, NBA ability because of his, what he played in the how he played in the NCAA tournament, how he played on Gonzaga. I saw him as like the 3rd option through that tournament while watching it. It was interesting because everybody's like, "Oh, Chet Holmgren, yeah, like he's gonna be like number 1 overall." And then reality, like watching him in big time games, your season could end in in a matter of seconds, and Chet Holmgren looked like he was already checked out, ready to go to the NBA, which obviously happens to kids that are in college and looking for the NBA, don't want to get hurt, don't want to take things too seriously because you have a career ahead of you. But it just looked like Chet Holmgren was checked out of the tournament. It was very weird to see him play like that, but I know through different highlights and different games through the regular season and years past, and also like on Instagram, he's massive on Instagram. Through different basketball Instagram profiles, they love Chet Holmgren and they love his ability to play basketball and handle the ball. I'm just not completely sold on him because of his size and weight. And then we were at Jabari Smith, and I'm a Rockets fan, so I want to focus more on the Rockets and drafting him. I thought that, and plus all of the Rockets fandom were set on Paolo Banchero. And when I heard that Paolo Banchero had been drafted by the Magic, and I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're getting Jabari Smith. What does that mean for the Rockets organization? What does that mean for ball spacing? What does that mean for Alperen Sengun? Alperen Sengun looks like he's going to be the starting center. They'll probably take Jae'Sean Tate out of the starting lineup, and the starting lineup for the Rockets, for the Houston Rockets, will probably be Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., a player that's where Jae'Sean Tate could, be added, and then obviously Jabari Smith and the Alperen Sengun. They needed rim protectors, they needed defense, they needed post offense. They needed that the Rockets because they have tons of guards. I think John Wall is still on the Rockets. So is who's the other player that's also on the Rockets? Dennis Schroeder. Dennis Schroeder's also on the Rockets, and then Eric Gordon is also on the Rockets. Kenyon Martin Jr., who's a power forward but plays more of a shooting guard, small forward, is on the team. And then they obviously traded Christian Wood. Now they have Boban Marjanovic as the center, but he's probably going to be the backup. David Nwaba, came from the G League, and Garrison Matthews as a shooter. So they have tons of players that could play from the 1 to the 3, but they needed players that could play from 3 to 5. And with the trade with Christian Wood obviously is a great player, did not fit well on the Rockets. So that's why they traded him for a Boban, and Boban's probably just going to be the substitute for the center position, while we have players like Alperen Sengun and now Jabari Smith, who not necessarily both will play the center position, but Jabari and his ability to use the ball on offense and defense. He's a great defensive player. He's 6'10", 220 pounds. He's a forward out of Auburn. Watching his highlights earlier, I think he shoot the ball well, and he knows what to do on offense. He has good spacing, and that's a huge, huge thing that the Rockets needed is spacing and passing the ball and being coherent as a whole team. They have like one of the better young cores, probably the best young core in the NBA, with Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., Alperen Sengun, Josh Christopher, Kenyon Martin Jr., which he has just requested a trade, but nonetheless he's still on the team. And then now Jabari Smith Jr., Jason Tate, and then Garrison Matthews. Garrison Matthews is a little bit older, but I think he's an undrafted free agent that we signed. So it's great to see these players that are young getting the opportunity. They're trading out the players that aren't working and putting in the players that could work. Right, Jalen Green, obviously, absolute star as the number 2 overall pick, and I think he flourished on the Rockets. He shot the ball well. He drove in. He looked like he was confident. Kevin Porter Jr. From the Cavs, now playing for the Rockets. It really could be either Jalen Green or Kevin Porter Jr.'s team. Either one. Probably going to trade John Wall for picks or some player. I don't really know. Dennis Schroeder probably not is going to play a whole bunch on the Rockets. They're probably going to trade him out, and then Eric Gordon's probably going to trade him out. So now we have this core team of Jalen Green, Kevin Porter Jr., Alperen Sengun, and now Jabari Smith, with backups like Josh Christopher and Kenyon Martin Jr. if he stays on the team. And then our later pick by the Rockets is Tari Eason out of LSU, which is another great pickup. He's another forward, 6'8", 216 pounds. He's a great rim protector. He can get to the foul line very easily. He shoots well. Same thing with Jabari Smith. I think both of these first round pickups, and then also they got Ty Washington, who is he's drafted by the drafted by the Grizzlies but acquired by Houston with a trade. He's a guard. I don't think the Rockets need more guards, but I think it's interesting that we picked up a guard in the later first round. We have a flourishing amount of guards and shooting guards on the Rockets roster, but it's great to see that we went into this draft with the idea that picking up rim protectors, shot blockers, people that can play in the post on defense and offense on both sides of the ball, and be maybe not front runners for the defensive player of the year, but definitely add a more consistent and bigger presence in the post, such as Alperen Sengun, because he's not the biggest guy ever. He's certainly not, but he's very crafty with the ball, and I think it's interesting to get a bigger player, maybe taller or as tall as him, that's less mobile and less mobile, but more muscular. I think it's going to be very, very, and also older. I think it's going to be very, very interesting to see these guys play in the next season. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the Rockets, shake around their roster, who they pick up, maybe in free agency, and maybe who they trade out with their older players like Eric Gordon and Dennis Schroeder. If Kenyon Martin Jr., if he wants out, then we trade him for somebody, and then trade John Wall. We already traded Christian Wood. So a lot of moves are being made on the Rockets offseason. And then now we went through this great NBA draft, picking up the 3rd overall, Jabari Smith, and then Tari Eason, and then Ty Washington. I'm just so excited to see the Rockets and what they will form as a roster and how it will pan out in the regular season. And hopefully within the next 2 years, 3 years, that we're serious contenders in the West because we have so much young talent. I think that we need to use the Warriors, plan if, we have all these young guys, put them in the G League, let them develop while our actual team is playing, competing for championships, and then bring them up. And they're already NBA ready. A lot of these players are already NBA ready, but to make them even more so, put them in the G League. Maybe Ty Washington. Maybe switch out like a Kenyon. Maybe no, don't put Kenyon. Like Garrison Matthews, he came from the G League and he was an absolute great shooter. So that's where maybe Tari Eason lands, and then maybe like a year or two bring him back up. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how the Rockets pan out with their upcoming regular season. So that's all I really want to talk about is the NBA draft and what it means for specifically for the Houston Rockets. I hope you guys are interested in the NBA draft and what it means for the rest of the NBA and the young guys and the young core, especially for the Houston Rockets. So thank you guys so much for listening, watching. I'll see you guys in the next episode.